In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this super cute little crab. I've just made one of these and I'm making a second for my under the sea cardigan. So we'll jump straight in and I'll show you what we need and what we're going to be using today. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using this sea blue colour. I'll be using some white, some coral, and I'm also going to be using some green, and we also need a small amount of black. You don't need very much, so you can just use some yarn scraps for that. You also need a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, and you will also need your crochet hook. To get started, we're going to use our coral colour and we're going to make a magic ring. And then once we've made a magic ring, we're going to put 6 single crochets into our magic ring. Three, 4, 5, and 6. Once we have 6 crochets in our magic ring, we can close the round, join with a slip stitch, just hold our tail out of the way, and then we can pull to close our ring and pull that nice and snug. Now in the next round, or for the next round, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then once we've done that, we're going to put 3 double crochets in each of our points. So there's 1, 2, and 3. That's in our first one. We're going to go into our next chain and put in another 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. So there's 2 lots of 3 double crochets. We're going into the next stitch, and again we'll put another 3. So there's our 3 clusters of double crochets, and then we're going to go into our next stitch and put in another 3 double crochets. And this will make our 4th lot of 3 double crochets, and then into the next stitch again 3 more double crochets, and 3, and then into the final stitch we'll then put in, into the final stitch we'll then put in 2 double crochets, as we are counting our chain 3 as our first double crochet. So there's 1, and 2, then we can join with a slip stitch. And then we can close our round a little bit more in the center if need to. So for round 3, we are going to again chain 3, and then we're going to put a double crochet into the next stitch. A double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. So there's our second double in that stitch. So you want 2 double crochets and then 2 double crochets in the same space. So we're just going to put another 2 double crochets in here. So there's 1 into the next one. Put a double crochet. And then into the next space, we're going to put 2 double crochets. Then a double crochet into the next space. And a double crochet into the next space. And then 2 doubles into the next space. Now we're going to put 2 double crochets in individual spaces. So there's 1. Go into the next space and put a double crochet. And then into the next space, we're going to put a set of double crochets, so 2 double crochets. And then we're going to put in a double crochet in the next space, followed by a double crochet in the next space. Then in the next space, we're going to put 2 double crochets. And then in the next space, we're going to put a double crochet, and in the next space, a double crochet. We're now back at the start, so we can slip into our chain and close the round. For round 4 we are going to chain 3, and then we are going to go into our first stitch and put in 2 double crochets. In the next space we'll put in another 2 double crochets, and then in the next space we'll put in a double crochet. Then in the next space we'll put in 2 double crochets, and then in the next space we'll put a double, and then in the next space we'll put 2 doubles, and in the next space we'll put another 2 doubles, and then in the next space we'll put a double, and then in the next space 2 doubles, 2 doubles, and 1 double in the next space, and then 2 doubles in the next space, a double in the next space, and 2 doubles into the next space, a double in the next space, and 2 doubles in the next space, then another set of 2 doubles together in the next space, followed by a single double. Oops. Then 2 more doubles in the next space, and a set of doubles in the next space, singular double in the next space, set of doubles in the next, and another set of doubles in the next space. Followed by a single double in the next space, another set of doubles in the next space, followed by a single double in the next space, and then in where we chained we're then going to put in 3 more doubles, 2, and 3. Oops. 3. And that should give us 44 crochet stitches for that round. For round 5 we'll put in a chain of 3, and then in the next stitch we are going to put 2 double crochets. And then in the next stitch along, another 2 double crochets. Then a double crochet into the next stitch, and a double crochet into the stitch after that. Then we're going to have 2 lots of double crochets in the next stitch, and 2 doubles in the next, followed by a double crochet, and then in the next stitch another double crochet, and then we're going to put 2 double crochets into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 double followed by a second double in that one, and then a double followed by a second double in this one, then a double on its own, into the next stitch another double on its own, into the next stitch 2 doubles, and then into the next stitch double, and into the next stitch a double, and then into the next 2 doubles together, and then into the next stitch, 2 doubles together, into the next stitch, a double on its own, and then into the next stitch, a double on its own, into the next stitch, 2 doubles together, into the next stitch, 2 doubles together, and then into the next we'll put in a double, and the next put in a double, in the next stitch 2 doubles, into the next stitch 2 doubles, into the next we're going to create a double and a double in the next, and then in the next 2 together, and then another 2 together, then another double on its own, and another double on its own, in the next stitch 2 doubles, in the next stitch a double on its own, in the next stitch double on its own, in the next a double on its own, in the next we'll put 2 doubles, in the next space we'll put 2 more doubles, in the next space a double on its own, in the next space a double on its own, in the next space 2 doubles, in the next space double, and back into the very first space where we started. We're going to put another double crochet and then slip stitch to join the round, and that's the end of row 5. So we can now draw up a loop and we can close off our round. And then we can just weave in our ends now, and then once the ends are woven in, I'll come back and I will show you round 6. For round 6, we're going to be working in the back loops only. We're going to join the slip stitch into the back of one of our chain 2 loops. Join on with a slip stitch, and then we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to yarn over twice, go into the next loop and put in another treble, and then we're going to chain 2. Into the same back loop space, we're going to put another treble, and then we're going to go into the next back loop space and put another treble. Into the next space, again working the back loop, we'll put a double and another double again in the back loop space. Then into the next back loop space, we'll put a half double followed by another half double into the next space. Then we will put 4 single crochets into the back loops of the next 4. So there's 2, 3 and 4. Once we've done our 4, we are then going to go into our next back loop space, and we're going to put in a half double crochet, and then into the next back loop space another half double crochet. Into the next back loop space we will put a double, and into the next back loop space we will put a double. Into the next back loop space we will put a treble, and into the next back loop space we'll put a treble, then chain 2 followed by another treble into the same back loop space, then treble into the next back loop space along, followed by a double into the next back loop space and another double into the next back loop space. Then into the next 2 back loop spaces we will put in half double crochets, and then 4 single crochets. Then into the next back loop space a half and another half into the next back loop space, then a double and another double, then a treble, followed by treble into the next space, chain 2, and then put in a treble into the same space, followed by a treble into the next space, followed by a double, and then another double, followed by a half double crochet and another half double crochet, then 4 singles, a half double crochet, and then into the next back loop space another half double crochet. Into the next back loop space we will put a double, and then another double, followed by a half double crochet and another half double crochet, then 4 singles, then in the next space we're going to put a half double crochet followed by another half double crochet, then we're going to put in a double crochet, in the next back space another double crochet, then a treble into the next back space, and then another treble into the next back space, chain 2, and then a treble into the same back space, then we put a treble into the back, we're going to put in another treble in the next space, then in the next space we're going to put a double and then another double, then a half double, followed by another half double, followed by 4 singles, three, 4, followed by a half double and another half double. Then we're going to put in a double, and then into the final back space, one more double, and then we can slip stitch in the top of the chain of the next row. This will have made our circle square. Our next rounds are nice and straightforward. So for this next round, we are going to chain 2, and in our next space we are then going to put in a double crochet. We should then be in the space that's next to the corner, so we're going to put in another double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2. Then in that same space we're going to put in a double crochet, because that builds up our corner now, and then in the next stitches along we're just going to continue to put double crochets in every single stitch until we get to our corners, and in our corners that's where we're going to do our double crochet and then a chain 2 and then another double crochet into the same stitch. And that's the only difference on this round. So we're just going to continue this all the way around. So I'll get to this corner and show you exactly what I mean, and then I will then do the rest of the rounds off camera, and then I'll come back to you for the next round as I'm finishing this one up, just so that you can see what I'm doing and follow along. But it's very easy, this round. There's not a lot to it. It's literally just double crochets, and the only thing that you need to remember is your corners. That's the only adjustment that you'll make in any part of the round. So I'm almost at that part now. Oops. There we go. So here we are at the corner. So we're going to put our double crochet, then we're going to chain 2 and then another double crochet into that corner, and then continue to put double crochets in the rest of the stitches as we work our round, and then just repeat our corner process, what we've just done, in the next corner. So I'll do this off camera and then I'll meet up with you for the next round. So for my next row, I've joined with a slip stitch back to where we started. For my next row, I've just closed my round with a slip, and then I'm going to move on to this dark blue. It's not much darker, but I just thought it'd be quite subtle and a nice change. So I'm just going to join on with a slip stitch. I'm going to join on about the middle, just so that all my joins aren't in the same area, which will give your granny square a little bit more strength. So there we go. I've joined on with a slip stitch now, and I am going to chain 2, Then once I've chained 2, I'm going to yarn over, go into my next stitch and put in a double crochet, and I'm just going to crochet over my tails of my yarn. So for the remaining rounds, we're going to repeat our last round that we did. So it's double crochets all the way around, and then in our corners we are going to be doing the same. So we're going to put in a double crochet, chain 2, and then a double crochet, and we're going to repeat this for the entirety of this round. So although I've changed my colour, you can stay the same if you want to, or just do the last round in a different colour. It is entirely up to you. So it just depends on how you want your granny square to look. I just wanted a bit of a contrast on this one and just make it different from the other one that I did. So I'm coming into the corner now, and I'm going to chain 2 and go back into the same space with a double crochet, and then I'm going to work up the rest of the rounds putting double crochets, and then my only changes are the corners. So I'm going to repeat this the whole way around, and then I'll meet you for the next row. So I'm just coming to the end now, so I'm going to put in my final double crochet. Then I'm going to join into the top of the next stitch with a slip. Then I'm going to chain 2. This will count as a stitch. And then I'm going to repeat exactly the same again. So it's double crochets all the way along. And then when we get to our corners again, we're putting in a double crochet, and then we're chaining 2 and then putting in another double crochet into the same stitch. And this will repeat for the remaining of the row. So it's exactly the same process as the last 2 steps. So then stitch after this one will be my corner stitch. So I'm going to go in here, put a double crochet, chain 2 and another double crochet into the same stitch, and then like I said, we're going to then go into the next remaining stitches, double crochets, and our only changes are our corners. So I'm going to continue this row off camera, and then I'll come back to you at the end of this row, and then I'll show you our next steps for making our crab look like a crab. So see you shortly. So I've now got to the very final double crochet to put in. and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the round to close off, putting in just a single crochet so that I can knot it, and then we can go ahead and weave in our ends. I'm just going to pop this on my blocking board so I can get it nice and flat and weave in the ends. For our next part, we are going to work on the pincer. So we're going to make a magic ring. Then in our magic ring, we are going to put in 6 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to close the ring slightly, but leave a bit of a V at the top. Turn our work, and then we're going to go in. There's 1, and then put another single crochet into the same space. Then we're going to put 2 single crochets into the next space. Two single crochets into the next space. Two single crochets into the next space. And 2 single crochets into the last space. So once we have done that, we're going to turn our work again, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next 2 rows or 2 spaces. Then in the next space, we're going to put 2 single crochets into the next space, another 2 single crochets into the next space. We'll put a half double crochet. I'm going to put a half double crochet in the next space, followed by a double crochet. Then in the next space, we'll put a double crochet. In the next space, a double crochet and a double crochet in the same. And then in the next space, we're going to put a double crochet. Followed by another double crochet in the remaining space. So once we've done that, we're going to turn, and then we're going to slip stitch into this first stitch here, and into the next one, and the next, the next, the next, the next, the next. Then when we get to here, we're going to chain 8. Then we're going to turn our work and we're going to skip a stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that. Then we're going to add a double crochet into the next stitch along, followed by another double crochet, followed by another double crochet into the next stitch along, and then another, then we're going to do a half double crochet, followed by another half double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the row, then we're going to slip stitch into the remaining stitches until we get to the top. Once we get to the top of this row, the last stitch, we're going to put in 2 half double crochets. Once we've done that, we're going to pull our magic ring to close, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next remaining rings, just to give it a bit of a shape. And then we can leave a tail, snip off, and find our original tail and pull that to tighten our magic ring and just to give us circle just to give the pincer a bit more of a shape. And then we can weave in our ends, and then we'll move on to the next pincer. We're going to make our other pincer. So we're going to start off again with a magic circle and chain 1. Then into the magic circle we're going to put 6 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then we're going to close our round, but not completely all the way. We're not going to join. So holding our tail, we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to put single crochets into the next, or into the backs of those spaces. So we're going to put 2 in each one. Oops, done double. So single crochets, so 2 single crochets in each one. So there's 2. 3 and 4. 5 and 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Okay, I'm just going to pull my ring tight again. So we're going to turn our work again, and then we're going to chain 2, and in that same stitch we're going to put a double crochet, so after our double crochet in the next stitch we're going to put 2 double crochets, then in the next stitch we're going to put a double crochet and then a half double crochet into the same stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch, a single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then we're going to chain 1, then turn. Then into the next stitch we're going to put a slip stitch, and a slip stitch into the next, and the next. Oops. And the next, and last slip stitch. So we should have 6 slip stitches. Then in the next 5 stitches we're going to put single crochets in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the next stitch we're going to put a half double crochet, followed by another half double crochet, then we're going to slip stitch into each one of our stitches now, just to give it some shape and definition. So to make it even tighter, you can slip stitch straight into the middle as well, and that will pull your pincer right in. That's if you can squeeze your hook into there. I've managed to do it just. And slip stitch. Slip stitch. In this one we're going to chain 1, then we're going to slip stitch, another slip stitch, and we're going to keep doing that until we get to this round part here. So 1 last slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to skip a stitch and slip stitch into there. Then we're going to put a double crochet into each one of the rows, barring the last 2. So double crochet, another double crochet, oops, I'm twisted them. Another double crochet, and 1 more double crochet, then we're going to do a half double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the arm at the top, and then pull a long tail, and we can cut off, but leave it long so that we've got room for stitching later. So now we have 2 pincers that we can put on. So I'm now going to move on to the next part of the round, which is the legs. So for the legs, we are going to create a slip stitch, and we're going to go into one of these loops here, quarter way down, and we're just going to slip stitch onto this, into this space to draw up a loop. Now we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm then going to skip a stitch and put a single crochet into that first stitch, a single crochet into the second stitch, into the third stitch. Again, I'm going to put a single crochet, go into the next stitch and put in a single crochet, the next stitch, put in a single crochet, and the last stitch, which will be quite tricky to get in, and put a single crochet into there, then once we've done that, we're going to hold our work like this, and we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the next. Then we're going to chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to slip stitch into this stitch, and then put a single crochet into the next remaining stitches all the way along. When you get to the bottom, we are once again going to slip stitch into the bottom, slip stitch into the next chain along, and then we're going to do another slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 7, then we're going to skip a stitch and slip stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next remaining stitches. Okay, once we've done that, we're going to slip into the next stitch. Nice and tight. And then we're going to chain 7 again. We're going to skip a stitch and slip into the next. Then we're going to put a single crochet into the next stitches along. Now, to get round, I'm just going to slip stitch into all of these chains until I get to the other side of my crab. So once you think you're about halfway, we can then chain 7 again, and we're just going to repeat it for the rest of the legs. So everything we did on the other side, we're going to do on this side, and then I'll finish the rest of the legs off camera, and then I will come back to you. For the final part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the eyes and the eye stalks before we sew it all on. I've gone ahead and I've made one so that I haven't got to make 2 on camera because it's the same. So first of all, we're going to make magic ring, chain 1, and put 6 single crochets into our magic circle. So there's 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once we've done this, we want to close our round and join with a slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 2. This will count as a stitch. Go into the next stitch, and we're going to put a single crochet in each one of our stitches that we've just done. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last one, 6. Pull up a tail, cut off, and then we've finished with our white. So pull your ends through and pull them nice and tight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my needle. I'm going to thread it with some of the yarn, trailing down, and I'm going to go into the back of my circle so that I can fasten off, but I'm not going to fasten off just yet. I'm just going to put a little bit of a knot in there. I'm not going to fasten off just yet, or cut off just yet, because I may want to use the backs for sewing. So to make the eye stalks, we move back to the same colour that we did our crab. Again, we're going to make a magic circle and chain 1. We're then going to go in and put 6 single crochets into our magic ring. Once we have 6, we can close our round, and again join with the slip stitch into the first stitch of our round. Hold our tail out of our way, and then we're going to chain 2. Now we're going to put 2 single crochets, counting that one as a stitch, into each one of our rounds. So we count the first one, chain 2 as a stitch, then put 2 in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, two single crochets in the next stitch, and 2 single crochets in the final stitch. Then we're going to slip to join our round, and then we're going to chain 5. And then we're going to skip a stitch, and we're going to slip into the next row. Then we're going to go into our next stitch, put in a single crochet into our next stitch. We're going to put a single crochet, and into our last stitch a single crochet, and then back into that stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Draw up a loop and cut off. Then I'm going to close my round, so pull nice and snug, and then I'm going to thread my needle and I'm just going to go down the backs of each stitch so that I've worked my yarn to the very end, and that will make it easier when we're sewing. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay, so once both stitches are at the end, like so, we've now finished with our coral colour. I'm going to move back onto the white. So I'm going to thread my needle with the white from the back of the eye, and then I'm going to go into the front and pull my tail through, and then I'm just going to lie it onto the top here, and then I'm just going to sew it around the eye that we've just done. And then I'm going to thread my needle with the other part of the white yarn, and I'm going to go backwards around it. So I'm now going to sew this way. Okay, and then pull your yarn through the back. At this point now you can tie your yarn off at the back and cut off. Now we're going to get a small amount of scrap black yarn, and once again we're going to thread our needle. You can use embroidery thread for this as well if you find that easier to work with. And then I'm just going to sew in the eyes. So we're just making a bit of a circle, if you like. So what I did was I did a V, and then I left a bit of a gap, and then I did another V. So it was like a cartoon eye. I don't know if you can, might not pick it up so well on camera. Oops. So I just put one more maybe after this one. Does that look okay? Let's have a look. Oh, that's fine. Right, okay. So once we've done that part, we can then fasten off. So once we have cut our yarn, we can then position our eyes into place. So as you can see off camera, I did work round that circle just with single crochets like I did at the bottom of him, because I liked that shape. It is different to the other one that I did because I didn't do it on that one, and I quite like it on this. So we're going to just have a play around now with where we think we want our eyes to lie, and our pincers to lie. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that positioning. So this is where I'm now going to sew them on. So I left some quite long tails on here. So I'm just going to thread my needle. And I'm going to first put on my eye. So if, unlike me, you like it to be very, very neat, you can just pin them into place first, but I'm just going in blind, why not? So we're just stitching our eye into place, and you can go up the back as well. So rethread the needle, and then I'm going to go back in, and I haven't got much yarn on here to work with, so I'm going to go into the back. I'm not going to fasten off just yet because I'm going to use this bit of yarn, if there's enough, which there may not be, but we'll try, to sew on the pincer. So now I'm just going to go into the back of the eye one more time, just for a bit of security. And then I'm going to come through the back, grab my pincer, put it into place where I think I want it to be, a bit over yeah, I'm going to run out. So now I've run out, I'm just going to tie it up at the back. I'm going to thread my needle, and then I can come through the back, join in the back of my yarn. If I just pull it, go in, tie it to the back of my ends that I need to weave in. So now I'm going to go on and continue to stitch through the back, weaving in my pincer. So I'm just going to do the top part of his arm. Now this part will have some straggly ends, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread them through to the back, and then once they're through to the back, we can then weave them in or tie them off, however you wish to do it. But there we have our little crab. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I would love to see your crabs. So if you leave a comment below, you can let me know what you've used them for. They'd be perfect for baby blankets or embellishments. But yeah, so there's my crab from today, and there's my crab that I did the other day. I put a little smiley face on this one actually. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.